Before you can master life, you must learn to master your attention. The world, ancient or modern, has always been loud. Even in Rome, where Marcus Aurelius reigned, the clamor of merchants, senators, and soldiers filled the streets from sunrise to sunset. But the emperor-philosopher understood something timeless, that noise is not only around us, it's within us. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And that is where the Stoic morning begins, in the art of quiet elimination. Every day you are asked to divide your mind 1,000 ways. Every ping, every post, every headline, a fragment of your focus stolen. But Marcus knew. A distracted man is not a free man. He becomes a puppet pulled by the strings of impulse and noise. Seneca warned, "To be everywhere is to be nowhere." So the Stoic begins by removing, not adding. Remove the unnecessary conversations. Remove the constant news, the endless scrolling, the opinions that do not serve your soul. Ask yourself, does this feed my virtue or my vanity? Every distraction you silence becomes a step toward mastery, because peace isn't found in doing more, it's found in needing less. The Stoics taught that our suffering often comes not from events but from our thoughts about them. We replay what's been said, we forecast what might happen. We argue with ghosts of our own imagination. Epictetus said, "When something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. The rest is noise." Overthinking is the illusion of control. It's the mind's way of pretending to act while standing still. So the Stoic cuts through the fog with reason. Is this within my control? If yes, act. If no, release, let the storm outside rage. Your calm is not found in control, but in clarity. Camera pans out. The emperor's tent bathed in light. He closes his eyes, breathing deeply. The world teaches us to measure our worth against others, their wealth, their looks, their success. But the Stoics knew. Comparison is a form of self-harm. It robs you of peace by making you blind to your own progress. Marcus wrote, "Do not waste the rest of your life wondering what others do or say, unless your duty calls you to it." In the eyes of the wise, no man is above or below another. There is only the measure of character, the only currency that never loses value. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The Stoic does not ask, "Why is he ahead of me?"
He asks, "Am I better than I was yesterday?"
Comparison ends when purpose begins. It takes strength to resist the chorus of the crowd, to live quietly when the world shouts for attention, to build in silence while others perform. But that is where the Stoic finds his power, because every voice you ignore gives strength to your own, and every noise you silence brings you closer to peace. Is this necessary? What will this thought bring me, peace or poison? This is the Stoic mantra for a modern world, a question that slices through distraction, envy, and noise. Is this necessary? You cannot control how loud the world becomes, but you can control the volume of your own mind. When you learn to remove, to strip away what does not serve the soul, you begin to see clearly again. You see that stillness is not the absence of life. It is the essence of it. Marcus Aurelius ruled armies, commanded nations, and yet his greatest victory was not on the battlefield, it was within. He conquered noise with silence. He conquered distraction with discipline. He conquered chaos and with calm, and so must you. Every day, quietly, patiently, deliberately, remove one thing that steals your peace, until all that remains is who you were always meant to be. They called him emperor, yet Marcus Aurelius sat among wealth and excess as if none of it were his. For he knew that possession is not ownership, and desire, when left unchecked, becomes its own master. No man is free who is a slave to his passions. And in that single sentence lies the reason most people are never truly at peace. There is a hunger the Stoics feared more than famine, the hunger for more wealth, more status, more of what the world promises will finally be enough. But greed, the Stoics warned, is a thirst that grows with every sip. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Greed blinds the soul. It turns gratitude into grasping and abundance into anxiety. Receive wealth or prosperity without arrogance and be ready to let it go. To the Stoic, possessions are not evil, They are neutral. It is our attachment that poisons them. And so the first chain to be broken is greed. By practicing detachment, own things, but do not let them own you. Use wealth, but do not worship it. Remember, what fortune gives, fate can take, but virtue once built cannot be stolen. The Stoics called envy the sickness of the soul. It eats away at peace not by what we lack, but by how we look at others. Envy is the adversary of the fortunate, because when you envy another, you become blind to your own blessings. Marcus Aurelius faced this every day. He was surrounded by rivals, flattery, and ambition, yet he refused to compete in vanity. He wrote, "Do not be satisfied with stories of how things have gone for others. Unfold your own myth. When you compare, you forget who you are. When you envy, you abandon your path for someone else's shadow." The Stoic cure is gratitude, not as a sentiment, but as an armor. Every morning, name 3 things that cannot be taken from you: your reason, your integrity, your will. These are your true riches, and in that awareness, envy dissolves like fog at sunrise. Perhaps the most dangerous chain of all is the need to be liked. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, and yet even he wrestled with the desire for validation. He confessed to himself, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." The Stoic does not live by applause. He lives by alignment. He seeks not to please the crowd, but to please his conscience. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The path to peace often looks strange to those lost in noise. The Stoic accepts this quietly, for he knows that the approval of the ignorant is a poor reward for the virtue of the wise. So eliminate the need to impress. Act rightly, and even if unseen. Speak truth, even if mocked, because the opinion of others is wind. But the opinion of your own soul, that is destiny. Each desire you abandon frees a piece of your soul. When you no longer chase wealth, you find contentment. When you no longer envy, you find joy. When you no longer seek approval, and you find yourself. The Stoic path is not a rejection of life's beauty. It is a reclamation of its essence. By removing what is false, you uncover what is eternal. Seneca wrote, "If you would make a man happy, do not add to his possessions, but take away from his desires." And Marcus lived that truth. He dined simply, spoke rarely, and gave generously. He ruled not by appetite, but by awareness. His life was proof that the less you need, the stronger you become. So, look around you. Look within you. Ask what desires have taken root. What cravings have made you forget who you are? Then quietly begin removing them, one by one. Until you no longer chase, you simply are. When the past haunts you and the future frightens you, remember, both exist only in your mind. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations surrounded by war, disease, and betrayal, yet he found peace not by escaping time, but by mastering it. He understood what most never do, that regret and anxiety are illusions, phantoms that live only in the corridors of thought. Regret is the chain that binds you to what no longer exists. It whispers, if only I had spoken, if only I had tried, if only I had known. But Marcus wrote, "Do not waste what remains of your life in thoughts about others, or about what might have been. The past cannot be changed. It can only be understood." Seneca said, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears, and yet," he did not mean despair, he meant acceptance. The Stoic does not dwell on what was lost, and he learns from it and lets it go. Each time you release regret, you lighten your soul for the work of the present. Because regret is not repentance, it is repetition. And the more you feed it, the more it consumes the life you still have left to live. Anxiety is the mind rehearsing failure before it even begins. It is the act of suffering twice, once in imagination and once in reality. Epictetus taught, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." How many of your fears have never come to pass? How much peace have you lost to futures that never arrived? The Stoics called worry a misuse of reason. They believed the rational mind was given not to predict storms, but to sail through them. Marcus wrote, "Do not let your imagination be crushed by life as a whole. Do not try to picture everything bad that could happen. Take the present memories and separate it from what comes before and after. To eliminate worry is not to ignore the future. It is to prepare for it without fear. To plan with calm and act with courage, because the future will unfold whether you tremble or not. Fear is the shadow of uncertainty. It tells us that the unknown is danger, when in truth it is the birthplace of all growth. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Fear is the mind's way of avoiding courage. But the Stoic knows, courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward despite it. Marcus faced armies, plagues, and betrayal, yet his calm remained. Not because he was fearless, but because he refused to surrender to fear. He said, "If it is endurable, then endure it." Stop complaining. To eliminate fear, the Stoic meets it directly. He imagines the worst and then realizes he can endure it. He asks, "What is the worst that could happen?" And when the answer no longer controls him, he is free. Regret, worry, fear, three thieves of peace. They steal your presence, your clarity, your joy, but you can end their reign, quietly, by returning again and again to this moment. Epictetus said, "There is only one way to happiness, to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will." And that is the Stoic secret. Not the power to control time, but the power to release it. When you live in the present, you see life not as memory or prophecy, but as gift. The past becomes your teacher, not your prison. The future becomes your student, not your master. And the present becomes sacred, the only ground where action and peace can coexist. This is the Stoic way of time, to remember without regret, to plan without fear, to live without hesitation. A man's life is what his thoughts make of it. So think of the present as a flame that burns only now. Guard it, feed it. Do not let the wind of yesterday or tomorrow extinguish it, because the Stoic's peace is not found in memory or anticipation, but in awareness. And the moment you return to now, you have already won. The greatest wars are not fought on open ground, but in the chambers of the mind. Marcus Aurelius commanded armies across Europe, but the fiercest battles he fought were against anger, ego, and the illusion of being right. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." These words were not philosophy. They were survival. Anger is not strength. It is a spark that blinds the reason before it burns the world. The Stoics warned that anger is a temporary madness, and that no man rules others while ruled by rage. Seneca devoted an entire work to this truth, writing, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Marcus faced betrayal, disobedience, and deceit, yet he never allowed fury to dictate his hand. He would stop, breathe, and remind himself, "When you wake in the morning, prepare yourself. You will meet ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful men, but they cannot harm your soul unless you allow it." That is Stoic control. Not the absence of feeling, but the mastery of it. To eliminate anger, you do not suppress it. You observe it. You let it rise, let it breathe, and let it pass, like a storm that cannot find shelter in your heart. The Stoic does not waste fire on destruction. He uses it for light. He turns emotion into energy and energy into virtue, because peace is not weakness and it is power refined. The Stoics knew the most dangerous crown was not made of gold, but of pride. Ego whispers that we are the center of all things, that praise makes us powerful, and humility makes us small. But Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, wrote in his private journal, "Soon you will have forgotten all things, and all things will have forgotten you. To remember your impermanence is to disarm your ego, to know that death comes for emperors and beggars alike, that the dust of kings mixes with that of slaves." Seneca wrote, "We are all made of the same clay, but not baked in the same kiln." The Stoic eliminates ego by embracing perspective. He does not boast of power, he uses it to serve. He does not seek titles, he seeks truth, because ego demands recognition, but virtue requires none. Every time you choose humility over pride, you return to harmony with nature, where every life has value, and every moment is fleeting. Ego says, "Look at me." Wisdom says, "Look beyond me." The first binds you to illusion. The second sets you free. To the Stoics, wisdom was not in winning arguments, but in seeking truth. Marcus wrote, "If anyone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for I seek the truth, and no one was ever harmed by the truth." Imagine that. An emperor who preferred correction to validation. The need to be right is pride disguised as conviction. It closes the mind and blinds the heart. Epictetus taught, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." To eliminate the need to be right is to make room for growth. It is to listen, not to respond, but to understand. Because wisdom is not about being correct, it is about being clear. Anger, ego, and certainty. Three enemies that live inside us all. The Stoic does not destroy them. He tames them. He teaches his fire to warm, his pride to serve, and his certainty to question. True strength is not domination. It is discipline. It is the calm to endure insult without retaliation, to hold power without arrogance, to lead without shouting. That is Stoic leadership, and the rarest kind of freedom. Waste no time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. And in those words lies the victory of the inner war. When you conquer yourself, no one can conquer you. There comes a moment, even for emperors, when the battle is not to win, but to release. After years of leading men through war, plague, and loss, Marcus Aurelius learned the final discipline of the Stoic life, to set down the burdens that were never his to carry. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. This is the last purification, the liberation of the soul from all that weighs it down. Guilt is the shadow of conscience. It reminds us of what was done and or left undone. But the Stoics taught that guilt must not become a prison. Seneca wrote, "To err is human, but to persist in error is diabolical. To feel remorse is right. To cling to it is vanity disguised as virtue." Marcus reminded himself that no man is born perfect. He said, "When you have done wrong, return to reason and do not despair. To eliminate guilt, you must see it as a teacher, not a sentence. Learn, amend, and move forward. The past has no power to define you unless you choose to stay in it. Forgive yourself, not because you are flawless, but because you are still learning." Resentment is a slow poison. It convinces you that holding anger is power, when in truth it is a chain. Epictetus said, "When someone does you wrong, immediately consider what view led him to it. Once you see this, you will pity him instead of angering yourself." The Stoic does not carry vengeance. He carries understanding. The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy. To forgive does not mean to forget. It means to free yourself from the emotional debt of others. Resentment is the mind replaying injustice, hoping the echo will fix what was done. But the Stoic knows only the present can heal the past, so release them. Release the one who hurt you. Release the memory that keeps reopening the wound. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for your peace. Every act of letting go makes space for serenity. Every forgiveness is an act of strength, because peace is not found in controlling others, but in freeing yourself from needing to. This is the hardest lesson of all. You cannot control the world, then you can only control your response to it. The Stoics lived and died by this truth. They accepted what was fated, not with resignation, but with grace. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs? Epictetus said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and you will go on well." Control is an illusion that exhausts the spirit. We grasp at outcomes, manipulate others, and fight against the nature of things, forgetting that peace begins where control ends. To the Stoic, surrender is not weakness. It is alignment with reality. When you accept what is, you become unshakable, because nothing can be taken from one who expects nothing but truth. And so Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, found freedom not in conquest, but in acceptance. He let go of guilt, released resentment, and surrendered control. He found peace not in victory, but in virtue. The Stoic path ends where it began, in stillness. To eliminate what is unnecessary is to uncover what is eternal. You do not need more time, more wealth, or more control. You need less. Less weight on your shoulders, less noise in your mind, less resistance to what already is. Freedom does not come from adding, but from subtracting. Peace is not earned. It is revealed, once you put down everything that hides it. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So think lightly, carry little, forgive quickly, accept completely, and in the silence that follows you will discover what the Stoics knew all along, that the greatest strength is calm.